What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. Today, we're going to be talking about the current banner heroes, Vildred and Pavel, whether or not you should pull for them, as well as the artifacts that they both have. So if you like the video and want to see more, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server. For the subscribes, let's try to hit the goal. We're so close to 3,000. So you guys know I do the full unit guides. So once we hit 3K, I will make a poll with the next full unit guide heroes that you guys can vote on, that you guys want to see a full guide on. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, and yeah, let's get to that. Right, enough about that. Let's go what you came here for. So as always, I like to start these banners by just giving you guys an overview of what I think about the unit, and then going in depth to their kits, their skills, and how can you use them. So Vildred and Pavel, neither of them is really insane. They're both good, and I think Vildred will be getting much better. Vildred definitely a lot better early game. Does scale pretty well into the late game and does have a lot of PvE presence and some PvP presence if you so choose, especially with this artifact. Pavel, not really seeing that much play. People still like to play around with him as an SSB counter, but it's pretty rare to see Pavel. He's not used that often. I still think he's okay, but neither of them is a must pull. They're both very good, except unless you have an RB that you want to push to the next level. Pulling some Vildreds might actually be pretty good for you since you can imprint your Arbiter Vildred. Right, so both of them are not insane. They're not must pulls. So if you don't want them, you can easily skip, and you probably won't be missing out on a lot. However, if you're a Cleave player, the one that you do need to really think about is actually going to be Vildred, or if you're early game in PvE. So let's start with Vildred because I think he's the one that you can actually pull for certain content that he actually does really well. Although it is a lot of investment, which is why it's hard to justify for a late game player, like especially like myself. To go really hard for Vildred. So let's start with Vildred. So base stats, what does he do? Why is he good? And we'll talk about the artifacts at the end. So first off, base stats, really good. Base speed, 116. It's pretty high up there. It is faster than a lot of different units. And his damage does scale with his speed, as we'll see later. He also does have very solid attack stat. That attack stat is spicy, as well as really good crit rate. So overall, amazing offensive stats, right? So top tier offensive stats, which is good, right? I like that. The imprint, the reason why he is so well known is not going to be his self imprint, although you can use it if you're using for a cleave, but it is going to be his imprint release. This is one of the reasons why Vildred to this day still sees PvP play, because when you pair Vildred up with your cleave team, if you have him at triple SS, that 12 extra speed that you're giving your team makes it so it's much harder to outspeed you. So if you're a cleave player and you're trying to climb an arena and you see yourself getting outsped a lot by other people's arena defenses, Vildred is your guy. Vildred cleave is very real, and the artifact just made it that much more consistent. I think Vildred cleave is actually going to be a lot stronger. So if you're a cleave player, definitely a solid option. The thing is, why I say it's such a big investment is because to make the most out of this, you do have to have him max imprinted for you to be able to use them for speed contesting as well. Even in RTA, right, you can use them for speed contesting. It still requires you to have triple SS, which means that you're going to be giving him slates, or you're going to have to pull multiple copies of Vildred, which is why it's kind of hard. But what else does he do, right? That's just the imprint, right? The imprint is already insane. It's already amazing. It makes it so if you have a triple SS, you won't be getting outsped, and you can speed contest with this guy. So very good, right? For cleave, really solid for PvP, and we haven't even talked about the skills. Now let's look at the skills. Wow, they gave us a lot of souls. That's a new update. I'm all down for this. Finally, Smoggy gives us souls 100% when we start the training. Wow, that's awesome. It's those hidden patch updates that people don't talk about. But okay, let's talk about it. So S1 hits 2 targets, damage based on speed. So nothing crazy, but it is pretty nice that it hits 2 enemies, right? If you use Arbiter Vildred, you know it's pretty crazy, right? So it's pretty nice, especially for when farming. He is a really good dog walker, which is why he's actually a pretty good starting unit. The other thing that this makes him really good at is for Banshee and for Asimach Hunt, because for Asimach Hunt, you do want to kill those small spawns, and the fact that you hit 2 enemies makes it so you can hit those small spawns and proc AoE attacks with them. Really good for Secretary Vera as well, because he does have that much AoE and does have high damage. And that's just the S1. It just does damage, but it's good, right? It's solid damage.
We'll cut our way.
The other reason why he's such a good dog walker, and a lot of people use him for farming and for cleaving as well, is increases the attack whenever an enemy is defeated, and you also cast Dancing Blade when you kill. So when you kill an enemy, or when an enemy dies, you get increased attack. But when you kill an enemy, you activate Dancing Blade. So let me put it in a way that is easier to understand, because that's a mouthful, right? So whenever an enemy dies by your S1 or your S3, you get an attack buff. And then you also proc an extra skill, Dancing Blade, which allows you to do an extra attack. I wish I could show you guys, but basically it's an AoE attack. So if you kill something, you proc an AoE attack, whether you kill with your S1 or your S2, and you get an attack buff. This is why he's so good for farming, because when you take him to farm a stage, right, like an adventure stage or like a story stage, his S1 and his S3 are both AoE skills that when you kill with this skill, he also procs an extra attack that can kill, and he also gets combat readiness whenever an enemy dies, making it really good for cleaves and for lapping and stuff like that. So again, pretty freaking solid, right? So pretty awesome S2. And then last but not least, the S3. It's just an AoE attack, right? So he doesn't have any utility, right? It's all damage, no utility. It's all he's very selfish in that aspect. You can also soul burn it for more damage. This is one of the reasons he can actually be used for cleave. So looks pretty cool. I mean, he's one of the older characters. He was out on the game's release, so he's pretty old, right? And he still has a pretty cool animation. I still think it's cool, but it does a lot of damage. And when you kill, you get an attack buff, and you attack again with an AoE skill, right? That's why our regular Vildred is so good for dog walking. So alright, where can you use him and where is he good? So Vildred is actually a really solid unit. For Banshee B13, if you're not doing one-shot Banshee, he's really good. If you are doing one-shot Banshee, he's still really good, because he can clear the first wave quite easily. He's able to clear that first wave no problems, and he has an AoE, and he also is able to just clean up if he only kills one of them, right? So very good for Banshee B13, one-shot or non-one-shot, whichever one you prefer. Pretty consistent as well. So really solid for Banshee. Asimak 13, another really solid option for Asimak 13, because all his skills are AoE. He's killing those eggs very often. He's able to proc a lot of times, and it just always makes it so you can kill the eggs pretty easily, right? Which is when the boss will put a defense up, so it makes your runs a lot faster if you have a good Vildred. And then the PvP aspect. He is an amazing cleaver, and his new artifact is it so good. I'll talk about the artifact later, but it makes all his skills penetrate defense, which is really strong. Why? Because as we mentioned before, this imprint is so good. Like his speed imprint is just so good, because he's able to give your Oxlots, your Faithless Litica, whoever you want, he's able to give them 12 speed off of this imprint, making it so it's almost impossible to outspeed. That's a lot that you have to outspeed against, right? So in Arena, if you're ever worried that they'll outspeed you, you put him and you get a bunch of speed. If you're not worried and you're using him as your cleaver, you can easily just give him the attack, right? So with Cerise in the future, if you are trying to contest Cerise for speed, and you're trying to cleave a Cerise, if they use Cerise to try to outspeed you, Vildred will actually be a really good option. So I see him being good in the future in RTA, but again, very high investment, right? So again, really good, really solid PvE, really good for adventure. Requires very high investment, which is one of the reasons why I don't recommend him for late game. I'm probably not going to build him anytime soon, because you do have to have so many, either pull so many of him or give him the arena imprints, which is just going to take a very long time to unlock the potential. He can still function in the PvE aspect without these, right? He can still walk dogs, which is why he's so good for early game. He can still do good in Banshee. He can still do good in A13. So if you're an early game player, really consider picking up Vildred if you have extra summons. If you're a late game player, if you're willing to make the investment for Vildred, really good. And of course, if you have an Arbiter Vildred and you want to invest more in your Arbiter Vildred, you should try to getting more Vildreds, right? It's pretty obvious. It's a lot of people like to do that, right? But okay, that's enough about Vildred. Overall, pretty good. I actually really like Vildred. I think he does a lot and is really good. Now, Pavel. So a lot of people like him, but I am not a fan. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I am not a fan of Pavel. He does work, and I have tried him in the past. I do have a Pavel build, right? And I have him almost fully Mulgore out because I thought he'd be insane. He does his job, right? He will always kill Seaside really well. He will kill Seasides like it's nothing, right? With the S3. And he's a speed cleaver. I see him being more relevant in PvP, but in PvE, he's not doing a lot for PvE. And he's not doing a lot for PvP. People still love their Pavels. I'm just not a fan. I don't think he's that great. But let's look at him, right? Stat-wise, why do I call him the speed cleaver? Look at that speed. 124 is one of the fastest speed in this game. It is faster than Cerise, right? So Cerise is 122 speed. He's 124. You are going to be slower than units like Acid and Kairon, of course. But you're still like pretty high up there. Probably like top 10 speed units, which is saying something in the game, right? So very, very good base speed. Your attack, again, extremely high, right? So really good base speed, really high attack, very similar to Vildred. No help on your crit hit rate though, which does him a little bit, and then no defensive stats. So he will get one shot like it's nothing, right? So if you don't kill on that first turn, you're most likely just gonna lose, which kind of sucks, right? His imprint, again, it gives him attack or it gives your team attack. Nothing crazy, pretty standard. I mean, it's nice that you get the extra attack. But okay, let's look at the skills and why I'm not super excited, but I see him working for some people. I see him becoming really good in the future if he ever gets an EE, and I think he'd be one of the top units to get an EE. I really want him to get an exclusive equipment because I feel like if they give him crit rate, he could be insane, right? So definitely in the future could get an EE and would be really, really good. But right now he's just okay, right? Nothing crazy. So S1 decreases hit chance. I mean, I have lost to Pavel in the past because he managed to hit my Charon and he managed to hit this glancing hit. I was pretty annoyed. So it is annoying and it will come up occasionally. But most of the time, you're not going to be getting a turn 2, right? Most of the time, unless you already cleave the opponent and you kill them, they will be able to easily one-shot your Pavel, right? Then there's the S2. This is where you start getting some of the cool stuff. So he increases his attack before he does damage, right? And does an AoE attack that does not trigger counterattacks. That means if you use this on Charles, if you use it on MLK, if you use it on all these other units that can counterattack on Ervalin with the counterattack buff, they will not counterattack, and you do give yourself a self-attack buff. This is why people call him a solo cleaver. He does not require setup as long as you have souls, right? Because he gives himself attack. I will say the ratios on this S2 are not crazy. If you're expecting this skill to kill everyone on the team, you're going to be disappointed. It will do really good damage, and it will kill squishy teams like control teams. You will do considerable damage to cleave teams, if not kill certain units on that cleave team. You'll definitely kill some units on control teams, right? So really, really solid S2, right? And then with the Soulburn, you get an extra turn, which is what makes him pretty cool. So self-attack, self-buffs attack, and then goes in for an S2, right? Pretty cool, and then gets an extra turn. You're able to do the S3. Now, y'all, this S3 looks gorgeous. I love the animations on this S3. I think it's one of the sickest S3s that there is in this game. And it's really strong. I've actually used this. I'm actually really, really surprised about how much damage this skill does. The damage is actually really high. You will be killing any squishy, essentially. You will be killing Seaside. This skill will kill a Seaside, right? But essentially, what it does is a single target damage skill that ignores damage sharing effects, which is why you can't kill Seaside with it, because you essentially ignore Aureus, you ignore Seaside's passive, which is good. And the damage is based on the speed. Again, look at the... It looks so cool, but it's so odd that he uses his S3 like a sword, right? I still think Pavel looks sick, right? See, he looks super sick. I think he looks sick as hell. So yeah, so all damage. Again, he's very, very greedy. He doesn't really provide anything for your team except damage, and only has like kind of utility on this one. So why am I not a big fan? His gear requirement is insane. All you early game players, you will not be able to properly make Pavel, right? So you can still make him work for slower cleaves, but to really make Pavel shine, he has to be like 270 speed, extremely high crit rate, really good damage, because he has to outspeed the opponent, right? So he's a good anti-cleaver, anti-control unit. He's good for speed contesting, and he's good for for counter cleaving, right? Because he cleaves by himself, all you need is his souls. You can make him work. I have used him in the past in Arena, and it's super fun to use him, but there are other units that do his job but better. Does that make any sense? Like, he's unique in the fact that he doesn't need any setup. And, you know, with people wanting Flan, he's one of the units that people are really taking a look at because he can actually function with Flan pretty well. Since he gives himself attack buff, he doesn't need someone else giving him the attack buff. He can actually get the crit damage buff from Flan, making him kind of unique, right? So, has potential. It's a unit that is full of potential, but it's really hard to make that potential come out. So, I wouldn't recommend pulling for him unless you really like his design or you're a cleave player. If you're a cleave player, it's definitely a good option. He's not bad. He's not good. He's not meta. He's just okay. He's a good option, right? To really unlock his potential, it takes way too much. So if you're in an early game, I would recommend you save, right? Unless he gets an EE in the future, right? If he gets an EE, he'd be insane, right? So he'll be insane if he ever gets an EE. But until he gets an EE or something else like that, he's not going to be... He's going to be just an okay option, right? So an option for cleaving, an option for speed contesting. But yeah, that's my thing with him because it is very hard to build Pavel. I've tried different builds. It's fun. I enjoyed it. If I really wanted to give that gear to him, but other units use the gear better, right? So a fun little unit. If you like how he looks, you can definitely make him work. If you're a Cleave player, you can definitely make him work. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So Vildred, definitely one that you should consider your early game, or if you're willing to invest in him. Pavel, more of a fun unit. I would say skip if you're early game. You're not going to be really using him for much. He doesn't really have a PvE presence. And his PvP is very niche, right? So it's more of a fun unit that if you like, he's cool and he functions, right? So that is all I have for you guys today. Hopefully this helps you out with the summoning session. Also, make sure you tune into the stream. If you made it all this way, make sure you tune into that stream as we try a bunch of units and get ready for Shogun's tournament. But that is all I got for you guys today, and I will see y'all next time.